Studio Series 86. You absolute something of a line. The fact that Studio Series 86 is being consistently released despite those figures being the biggest shelf warmers I've ever seen is astounding. The only ones that have ever sold well are the Dinobots. Like, I was visiting my dad over spring break, and legitimately, truly, there was the Walmart and in his town was still trying to sell Studio Series 86 Cup and Blur at retail price. They didn't even mark them down. Those figures are like going on 2 or 3 years old now. But Ross, on the other hand, is selling this guy, complete with all his accessories, for $22. You want to know how much Walmart is still selling him for? $55. This guy, this one right here that I saw on shelves back in during Christmas time of 2021 is still being sold at retail price in Walmarts and Targets. But whatever. I picked this guy up at Ross for $22. It's Coronation Starscream, a figure that I have vehemently been against since I got it for the first time and almost sold it immediately afterwards. Let's just get on with the review before I get too far in a rant. So everything, so he's in his, I believe it's F14 was the vehicle mode he had in the show. It's a re-release of the Earthrise Starscream mold, which isn't inherently a bad thing. Like, this guy, Studio Series 86 Cliff Jumper. This is the Buzzworthy re-release. Is a re-release of the Earthrise Cliff Jumper mold. A mold that in and of itself is pretty good, all things considered. Yeah, parts forms, but parts forming does have its place. I don't like how this figure parts forms, but parts forming does have a place in the Transformers lines. This guy does exactly what he needs to do in order to fit within the Studio Series 86 line. He's very smooth. There's not a lot of greeble going all over the vehicle mode or the robot mode. Yeah, you have some in there, but it's nothing compared to this guy. So let's just take a look, shall we? Now, from the nose cone to about right here is great. If they had done this amount of greeble over the entire figure, I would not hate this figure near as much as I do. But then you look at the wings and you look at the back here. The only things that are not covered in greeble for this vehicle are the nose cone, the little vents right here, and the back wings. The back wings have a decent amount of it, but it's still well within the boundaries of the Studio Series 86 line. This is way too much. This does not fit. If you put this next to a Studio Series 86 Blur, it does not work. It doesn't look right. It doesn't feel right. It's just, and this is the better mode, and I'm talking this much shit on it. Like, that should tell you how much I dislike this figure overall. And yeah, you could also argue this is definitely not clean, but Jet Transformers have always had a hard time cleaning up the bottom. I think the last Transformer I owned that was a real Earth Jet that actually looked great in both Jet mode and Robot mode was the either Hunt for Decepticons or just the movie line Starscream from Revenge of the Fallen. Bottom has never bothered me on Jets. That's basically the gist I'm trying to get at here. But he's painted well. He's painted very well in this mode. The red and white, the Decepticon logo, very nice shade of blue in the back. I will give it that. The color choices on this are amazing. I'm glad they went with a gray instead of a white, which they did kind of go for a white here, but this is that palm plastic, so it's not like they could paint it. And it's very hard to match plastic pigments when you're going to different plastics. So I'm not going to hold that too much against them. Some nice gunmetal there. So there are things I do like. The paint choices are great. Everything, the nose cone looks great. The back tail wings look fine. It's just everything in between there is just not something I'm a fan of. But let's go ahead and get to some size comparisons. So there he is. Go ahead and scoot back a little bit so we can get full view. Here he is next to 86 Cliff Jumper. And as you can see, they scale very well with each other. This is definitely what I expect Starscream to look like next to Cliff Jumper. And here he is next to Cup. Again, scales very well. That's another thing. He does scale well with other figures. And just so we can get some other non-Studio Series 86 representation here, Kingdom Pipes, a figure that, despite not being in the Studio Series 86 line, fits exceedingly well within the Studio Series 86 line. Seriously, if they wanted to just re-release a figure for Pipes in the 86 line, I don't know if he even showed up in the 86 movie, but hell, half the Dinobots were in there for literally a frame and then just disappeared, so I don't know why they wouldn't. This is a great figure for a re-release in the 86 line, just with some very minor details taken off. This guy, on the other hand, Earthrise was in a weird spot. Kingdom is definitely the best of the War for Cybertron trilogy. Earthrise, this is great. For the Earthrise line, this was great. For the Studio Series 86 line, it's lackluster, it's lazy, there's nothing new here. The only reason they reused the Earthrise mold was so that this could be included. You're not paying for this figure when you buy this figure. You are paying for everything here. This is where that additional $20 is going when you're buying this figure. It goes to the chair, the cape, the crown, and the shoulder pauldrons, and 2 sets of his blasters. I don't know what they're called. I didn't pay attention to the G1 cartoon all that much. But if this is the reason why we did not get a new mold or didn't get changes made to this mold in order to make it actually fit with these figures, then I would more than happily not have this. Now, with all that ranting and raving out of the way, we're going to go ahead and get down to transformation. So, let's start off with going ahead and we're just going to take the wings and flip them around. All right, pretty standard. Next, take the crotch guard and flip it up, pull down on his kneecaps, and then extend the legs. There are 2 tabs on each knee that will go into these 2 slots. You gotta line those up, which they rarely want to do. And there, you have the legs extended. Next, take the toe and flip it forward. Take the wings, flip those up, and then the wings here tab in, so you want to pull those out and then rotate them towards the front of the robot mode. And then those don't tab in, they just sit flush up against the leg. So just take it, pull it out to the side to untab it, and then rotate it forward, and that will rotate the heels back. So you have your legs done. Now, for the torso, you want to, it's hooked on by these 2 tabs on the side, so you want to pull those out and forward to release where his arms are. You take those, just fold them out. Now, you can go a couple different ways with this. You can finish the arms, or you can go ahead and do the torso. I'm going to go ahead and do the torso. So you take the nose cone and you pull down on it. You spin it like so, and then you push the front of the nose cone. Actually, don't push it, pull it pull it up and that'll untab it. And then you just push it back. This slot will go, or this tab will go into this slot here. You see that little hole right here. That will go in there, and just kind of line everything up and fold down his crotch plate. Push the nose cone down. Now you can take the arms and pull up on the front section. This will allow you to pull down on the back and extend them. Close it up, fold the hand down, do the same thing on the other side. Up, down, extend, fold, fold. And then what I personally like to do is just go ahead and fold the wings back a little bit. And there you have Studio Series Coronation Starscream in just his base robot mode. And here is where more complaints come in. He doesn't look right. They needed to smooth out the detail. If they had less molded in detail, it would look fantastic. Okay, so just gonna go ahead and bring all the other guys that I had in the previous size comparison out, okay? So we've got Cup, we've got Cliff Jumper, and we have Pipes. Now, these three, not including him, these three up front look great standing next to each other. They have just enough greeble that they are detailed and they are smooth enough that they fit within the Studio Series 86 line. This guy, you can see, I mean, just comparing his arms to everything on these guys, he's got more molded detail on his arms than some of these guys have on their entire bodies. Like, and you can't even say that it's a Studio Series 86 thing because he's from Kingdom and he looks great next to these guys. So it's just, it's something where the re-release they chose was not the one they needed. They definitely needed to do something about all of the greeble on there. Hell, some of it you could take off and you would actually be saving plastic. I mean, there's some raised detailing on Starscream that could have easily been cut off. But like, why? Why is all of this greeble still here? Let's go ahead and get down to articulation, because talking about this guy just makes me very angry. So, head is on a ball joint. He can look up that far, down pretty far, full 360 due to that ball joint. The wings can be adjusted so that you can get a full 360 at the shoulder. Shoulder goes in and out, 90 degrees at the elbow, and wrists do not rotate, but they do have opening hands. For some reason, he has opening hands. That finally tabbed in. Yeah, I don't see why they couldn't just put a swivel joint right there, but whatever. No, nothing at the waist. You can move this up and down. Yeah, that's a downgrade from the Siege version, by the way. The Siege version had, I think, this split into 3 parts so that you could lift this and then do individually. Nope, this one piece. And you don't even get a very good kick out of it. You can't go very far back at all. You can't even go out all that much. Like, these are, it's just frustrating. And the knee, you get more than 90 degrees, which is pretty good. At the ankle, you get a slight tilt, no pivot. Oh, you also get a thigh swivel, and you get a bicep swivel, although on this one, it is very tight. It's actually pulling the tabs of the chest out when I try to use it. So yeah, he's okay as far as articulation goes. It's lacking in some areas, but other than that, it's okay. You can get some decent poses out of him. But let's go ahead and let's get him all dressed up. So go ahead and take the cape. The cape does actually look really nice. the way they have it. I don't like that, but that's kind of unavoidable. But it looks very nice, and it does expand out so you can get like the sideways motion. So you just take this 5mm port right there, goes right there on Starscream, and just tab it in, fold the nose cone back down. I also don't like how they handled that nose cone. I understand that there's limitations, but they didn't even attempt to try and actually hide it. And then, oh, these are his normal null rays. Null rays. I figured that out just now as I pulled them off. These you just put on his shoulders there. Sorry, I forgot to do that before, but, you know, I want to talk about this figure as little as possible, so we'll go ahead and grab the shoulder pauldrons, which tab into the, there's 5mm ports inside of here that this little port here goes into. Sorry, I just hit my light. And these have a different kind of null ray on them. So as you can see with this null ray, it is a complete null ray. It has all this detail back here, and it has a 5mm port for the shoulder. This null ray basically has the peg moved back and all of the bottom section here cut off. Also, I don't know why they did this, but the blue plastic painted gray. Now, I don't know necessarily exactly how parts count work or anything like that, or budgetary things or anything like that, but I am almost certain that it would have cost less to mold this in just the gray plastic than it would have been to mold it in the blue plastic and then paint it gray. But what do I know, right? So take these 5mm ports on the inside of the shoulder, on the inside of the pauldron. They go into the same 5mm slot that, or sorry, 5mm peg, 5mm port that the regular null rays go into. On this one, it is very tight sometimes. You just fold that down. Oh, I've got it backwards. Hang on. Just, come on. There's that. And then you just put that there. And there you go. Now we will take the, come on. Those 5mm ports in the chair are very tight. Go ahead and flip you around because I have you on backwards too. Same thing on the other side. 5mm peg, 5mm port on the shoulder. Just line those up, and this is the one that doesn't like going in without a fight. And there we have him with the shoulder pauldrons. Now take the crown, which just is there, and you just plop him right on the head. And there you have Coronation Starscream in his coronation garb. It looks fine. I just wish that they had done something different. The thing is, these don't even look good on him. Like, these are those very smooth. They don't have a lot of grease. Well, there's some, but it's not near as much as there should be in order to actually match it to the figure it's on. And also, the crown just looks weird. It doesn't really sit all the way on his head. It just does not look weird. It looks weird, but it's not like egregiously bad or anything like that. It's just weird. His hands do open, and I think it's specifically for this mode so that you can get the pose that they have on the box. And this is where that hinge on the cape comes in. You unfurl it and you get this, which I'll admit, it looks cool. It looks really cool, but it's just, I don't understand why a new, like, at least an edited version of this mold could have been used. Like, why is the chair, why is this so necessary? It's something that, I don't even think Starscream sits in it. Like, I haven't seen the movie in a very long time, and even when I did watch it, I think I fell asleep midway through. But I don't even think he sits in this. I think this is something that Galvatron sits in, maybe. But, like, at that point, why not just release this with Galvatron? That way you can have the full set. But yeah, so it looks cool. Like, I'm not going to sit here and act like this looks bad. I mean, it doesn't match. It doesn't work well because these are very smooth detailed, and this is a very detail-heavy figure. But, like, it's just something where I wish they had edited the mold, where the mold had been made to look more in line with the rest of Studio Series 86. But go ahead and take all of this off, and we will get the chair in so we can see one of the other issues with this figure. Now, you would expect that since he comes with the chair, he would look good sitting in it, right? Well, let's go ahead and try and sit him in the chair. So we'll go ahead, pull him forward. So obviously the legs need to come forward. So this piece needs to come up, and he's flashing us. We'll go ahead and get the legs like so. Get the arms just, oh, yeah, there we go. Oh, wait. He can't rotate his wrist, so he's constantly just going to have his hands like this on the chair. So that's fine. It could be worse, all things considered. And we just plop him down here, and he doesn't sit in the chair. You know why he doesn't sit in the chair? Because this piece here, which doesn't fold back enough to actually, or it doesn't fold back at all, does it? No, that's a solid piece of plastic right there. If this had folded back, this would be able to fold up, and he would actually be able to sit in the chair. But as is, he can't. And because his crotch guard isn't those two separate pieces on the side with this down, he's constantly flashing you. Like, he can't even sit all the way back in the chair because of the nose cone. Like, seriously, are you starting to see why I think the chair was unnecessary and why I think this mold was not the correct mold to use? I would have preferred them re-release the Classics mold of Starscream in the 86 line. You know what? At least with Classics, like, it's an old mode and it's been re-released to death and back. That thing was like, I think that thing has the highest number of re-releases of any Transformers figure ever. But it's just, if this not being included with this figure would have been the thing that made this figure better, get rid of this. And I'm willing to bet Tarn looks amazing sitting in this chair. But it should not have come at the cost of a good Studio Series 86 Starscream. Like, Earthrise Starscream, fine. Totally passable figure. 86 Starscream is a lazy re-release for the excuse of getting a bunch of accessories out in the market. So, hopefully my viewpoints on 86 Starscream are a little more clear now. But with all that being said, and all that ranting and all that raving, that has been my review of Studio Series 86 Coronation Starscream. The laziest figure in the entire line. And with all that being said, I hate this figure. I will see you some other time.